Hi guys, and welcome back to Mower Repair. Today we have a very sad story. That's the demise of this HR215 Honda Master Series mower. This is the HR215HXA, which means it has a hydrostat transmission, an aluminum deck, and a blade brake clutch. And this sweetheart does not turn over anymore. When you pull the rope, nothing happens. It is a sad state of affairs. This is a better lawnmower now, if it wasn't locked up, than you could buy brand new. The quality that went into this mower doesn't exist anymore, in my humble opinion. First thing we're going to do is we're going to turn this over on its side. We're going to pull the blade brake clutch off of it to make sure that isn't locked up, and then we'll move on. But absolutely the first thing we should do is check the oil. This is a mower that I found on the Facebook Marketplace for free, and I went and picked it up. And that, my friends, tells the whole story. Right there. The no oil on the dipstick. Let me try that one more time and see what we get. Yep. Because someone did not check the oil on this sweetheart, it has met its demise. So let's go ahead and move forward. Let's pull the blade brake clutch off this thing, because I'm sure we're going to be pulling the engine off of it to see what happened. We'll get started there and we'll work our way in. Blades look to be in good condition and straight. That bearing's a little cruddy, like always. Yeah, the outside is a little worn, but it looks good. Baby's had some heat in it, but it's not bad. So far, everything doesn't look too bad. That all looks good. So far, so good. Now, I find it easier just to take these screws out when I'm taking these off, because I'm going to have to disassemble this anyway. Just hold the bolt straight until it comes loose, and then twist it, and the spring will fall. This should just slide off now with the springs undone. Come on, baby. You can do it. We'll make that just a little larger, and there we go. That's off. That's all the blade brake clutch stuff with the washer. So that's done. Let's flip it back over and get some of our top stuff off. Because, yep, this thing is still locked up. So let's pull that off real quick. Could have swore that was an 8. Yeah, it's an 8. Off the cover, get our cover out of here. And we're going to grab the little ears on this keeper. Just pop it back out of the way. That's good. Get us something to tap our spring or our keeper pin out of the way. It's out, and this should just slide off the engine. That is one pretty cool setup. All right, moving on. We're going to pull our breather cover off here. Then we'll pull our carburetor off. We'll get our fuel line off there. These are probably way too big for this fuel line, but we'll see if it works anyway. There we go. Gasket. Give it just a little tap. Break it loose from the engine. There we go. That's loose. Ripped our gasket, of course. Get our governor linkage off here, or throttle linkage. Get our spring undone. And then we have the choke to contend with. And I find it easier to undo the choke from this end. Then I go back together, I just straighten the arm back out. Then we got the three to hold the starter on. Yep, you're noticing that right. It's a metal recoil. There we go. That's off. Set that back out of the way. Yep, engine's still locked up solid. Oh yeah, look at that. Yep, we're going to do the old pry and whack method to get the flywheel off. An age-old method that's worked pretty good for me. I got to tell you, those results are hard to argue with. Ta-da! We'll set that back out of the way. Hey, our top seal looks good. It's nice and dry. Dusty as all get out, but still dry. That's done, 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 done. Let's roll it back over and get this thing off the deck. All right, we just have 4 bolts. Those 4, and this baby will come off. Let's grab a 12, because they look like 12s. That one's tight too. Hard to believe. This is the only one left holding the engine off. And I reckon that means the engine's off. I'm gonna get a little bit of this junk out of the way. This thing's wet with oil right here on this seam. I'm wondering if we didn't have a gasket pushed out or something. We'll know soon enough. Let me get rid of some of this stuff. It's just not every day we get to work on one of these. I'm pretty happy about it. A little suspicious of the gasket right there. All right, we're going to go ahead and pull the head off this thing. Get that out of the way. And as we'd expect to find, just rocker arms and valves. The valves sound good. You can hear them click closed. That means something. If you don't hear them click closed, there's a good chance one of them is bent, or worse, burnt, or just has a tight valve. All right, we got 4 bolts to go to get the head off this thing, so we'll go ahead and take care of that. Get our spark plug. That seems to be the biggest job of the day. And I think those are 12s. Yes, they are. Let's try our... Well, we got 3 out of 4 that time. There she burst loose. Whew. She was tight though. Give her a little tap here to knock it loose. More of our old crusty gasket out of the way. There we go. And one bolt fell at half a thread. Nothing too exciting there. The good news is I don't see a whole lot wrong with the cylinder yet. We'll see how that shakes out in the end. Rocker arms, or push rods. So we can get the... We'll take all these bolts out the bottom, and then we'll pull the cover off and see exactly what happened. It's like solving a mystery. Yeah, it's going to be smaller than that. Ooh, yeah, that is a shame. That's what that is. It's a shame. Pull our camshaft out. It looks to have survived. Wow. Feeling bad for this thing already. The good news is it's locked up in a place so we can actually get the bolts out of the rod. It's not like fantastic news, but it is good news. I'm going to rearrange it so we can see down in here. So we're going to take the rod bolts out of it. No idea what the torque to, but we'll find out. All right, we'll take these bolts out. They should be loose enough to finger out. Yeah, they are. Let me see if I can do that. This baby ran till she just had no oil left. Just a bit of sludge in the bottom. There's one. The easy one's out. Another one's out. Huh. Look at that. A little bit of metal transfer, but not bad. That frees up the rod, or the crank. Let's pop it up out of there. If we can get it past the rod. Oh, it's sitting. No, I don't think we can. Holy cow, and the piston's not locked up either. Wow. That is cool. This baby might be savable. You can see there's a little bit of metal transfer right there. We'll clean that up. And what kind of oil did it have in it? It had this kind in it. It looks a whole lot more like black STP oil treatment than it does oil. Well, I got some parts in. I need to scrape my gasket off around here. I've already kind of cleaned this up in here and got it in pretty good shape. But I need to go ahead and get the rest of this gasket off here. There, I think that's pretty good. I think that'll do. Now I probably should have filmed this, and I didn't. I apologize about that. But this had aluminum stuck to it. And what I did was I took some emery cloth, some fine grit emery cloth, 600 grit emery cloth, and worked this until I got all the aluminum off of it. And now I think it's going to work just fine as far as our crankshaft goes. Now, our connecting rod did not fare out so well. If you remember, this is our original connecting rod, and there's quite a bit of metal transferred off of it, and especially in the cap. This is the cap off the original connecting rod, and I think we just went over this, but I wanted to throw it in here just in case. And there's a lot of metal transfer on that. However, I had another engine, and that engine was off of an HR215, an early model one, and it turns out the rods and pistons will interchange in between the two. Now this piston is in pretty good shape off the one that seized, just the crankshaft seized on it. So this piston is also in pretty good shape. It's not nearly as bad as it looks. It looks pretty bad, but I can't really feel any of those scratches on there whatsoever. So we're going to go with that. We're going to take the rings off the old piston, put them on the new piston, and then we're going to go with that. These both are stamped ZG9, so if you're wondering if they're the same, yep, they're pretty much the same thing. So we're going to go with a piston out of our donor engine and our rod, and we're going to use the rings out of the original one. Put our expansion ring in here. I want to kind of keep an eye on where the end of that is, so I'm going to put it right at that wrist pin for now. We'll grab one of our oil control rings here. I'm going to set it about a quarter turn from the opening on that expansion ring, on the springy looking one. And its whole job is to expand these out, and then if oil gets trapped between them, there's holes in the bottom of the piston where oil can come back in instead of making it up into the rings and into the combustion chamber and catching itself on fire and smoking and carrying on like mad. Put that one on there like that, and then we'll take this one and we're going to rotate it about a quarter turn the other way. So when we're done, our end gaps for these two rings, one's right there, the other one is right there. So they're straight across from each other. You talk to 100 different people about putting piston rings on, they'll give you 100 different answers on how they do it. I set mine so the piston, the wrist pin's here, 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 and here. It's just how I do it. You would have to work hard to know if it really mounted to a hill of beans or not. And I'm guessing not. So we'll slide our second compression ring on. Now we know we have our ring end gaps here and here, right there on that one. So we're going to come over here on this one and we're going to rotate this one around here. Now we're going to set this baby in here. Oil rings are in. Let's work our lower compression ring in. Right there's the end of it, so we'll push down on this side and then we'll easily work the slack nice and gingerly around this way. Not real sure where the camera battery dropped out there, but we torqued all these bolts. In case I lost you before that, I'll check and make sure. And then we're going to clean up the top of this piston a little bit, which we neglected to do earlier. I'll put a little contact cleaner on a rag here and kind of wipe it off. That way we're not putting it back down next to the piston in the cylinder. There, that's pretty good for a used piston. That baby is going to go on there kind of like that, Get turned the right way here. We'll put our dowel pins back in. I thought we would. Yeah, we just got to put them in the right hole, that's all. It's important to put them in the right hole. And this is going to sit on here like this. Like so. Then we got two clean bolts. You know, not oily bolts. And then we got two oily bolts. Let's sit down in here. There we go. All right, we need to go ahead and adjust our valves. All right, that's a touch snug. So now we know where too far is. We'll turn it back a touch. Yeah, that's pretty good. And that one's pretty good. There we go, we got our valves run. Make sure we got this snugged up good. Don't want to come loose. Then this uses these little sweethearts here. Find another rag and try to keep my sealer from going everywhere. Back to the old 10mm T-handle. Okie doke, that's done. And the rest of this is probably going to be easier to do on the mower than off. So I'm going to go get the mower up on the lift and we'll see what we can get done. If we can't get a bolt started in this sweetheart and hold it in place. There's one. See if we can get another one, and then we'll flip it over and tighten everything up. Grab a couple of 6mm bolts here. And now for my next trick, I'm going to hook that spring on there. We'll start out with a pair of needle nose pliers and then gradually get into meaner and tougher things as we need them. There we go. Our springy dinghies are on. That's in place. Now we'll set this in here. It goes right there, and it rides on bolts with springs. Seems like a lot of springs involved in this situation, isn't there? Let me see, are we doing a decent job focusing? Hope so. This balls go in here. And then if you do this just right, I'm probably not going to, it's been years since I've done this. You can set those in the lowest point, and when you turn this, it brings them back so everything kind of stays timed. These kind of give you a false feeling because they're shouldered, and they go in there and they just hit a shoulder and stop. They don't tighten up like a regular bolt would. And I just want to be very sure those things are pulling down like they should. Key goes there, goes in that groove. And our key's coming out instead of staying in, of course. There it stayed in. Those pins have to line up there. So we'll take this whole thing, we're going to set it in place, get us a bolt. I believe that's the right one. Let me see. Nope, this is the right one. So it all kind of goes like this, and you can't see these holes once you start everything on. So you need to make sure they're fairly well lined up. You can kind of see them around the edge, but you can't see them from the bottom while you're starting all this stuff in place. And then we'll just crank it down. We're going to make sure our pins line up in here into those plastic hoo-hoo dillies in there. That one's lining up. That one does not seem to be. We'll give it just a touch more. There we go. She's lining up. Now we'll torque these down. All right, set our flywheel on. Make sure the key is still in there. I can see that it is. There we go. All right, we're going to put our carburetor back on. Get my fuel line started on. There. Kind of like so. Go hook up my throttle linkage. And this baby will live much happier. Yep, I think that'll work. So we'll grab this, and we've got to plug our hose in as we go on. So I'll take care of that now, our crankcase vent. And then we'll bring this around and set it over the studs. The carburetor. A couple of 6mm nuts. Those babies started a bit. Tighten this down with the old T-handle. One of these? I think so. All right, our air box is properly supported. We have a fairly clean filter. Set that baby in there. This does have the pre-filter in it as well. Hope all that works now that we got it assembled. Wire and our coils hooked up. All right. Now we should be able to squeeze our pin past that keeper. Find our hole again. Should be somewhere around there. Got to hook up our fuel line. And we need our recoil. Starter. Like so. You know, I'm wondering, didn't put my dipping stick in yet. Wondering if I can still get that on and that bolt in there. Kind of like that. Has a bolt that holds it in place. Then our beauty cover. It's over here, and it's got tabs that fall into the slots. Like so, and then there's one screw that holds that on. right there. Alrighty. It'll be plenty to fire it up. It's almost full. Well, I'd say she runs. I'll recheck the oil in it, take it out tomorrow and mow some leaves up with it and see how this thing does. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me here on Raymore Repair. If you would, please subscribe. Doesn't cost you a thing. It really helps me out. Hit the like button on the video. Leave a comment, good, bad, or indifferent. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions you have. And you can tell me what I did right, what I did wrong, and what you'd do different. I always like to hear that because there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's probably more than one way to do with stuff on these HR215 Master Series mowers. This is probably a better mower now than what you can buy brand new. Thanks a lot, and God bless.